And my dad was a drummer, and I think if he had the choice, he probably would have been like, you know, a musician. So they kind of like knew how it was, but I have a lot of like law enforcement in my family. I would say if you're somebody who has a passion for music and you're trying to figure out how to get into the industry, I'd say going to school for music industry is a good idea. But know that it takes like a lot of personal hustle and drive to get in. How do I get my name to show up in the top of people's iTunes? So I was like, it needs to start with an A. I was like, it has to start with an A no matter what. Another piece of advice I give to upcoming artists is like, don't let like the advice of like, no, if you want to make it in music, like you need to sacrifice and you need to like be starving on the street. Like, no, if you want to make it in music, like go get a side job and work on your shit like from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. and then go to work the next day and really like grind it out.
Hi, this is Lorde and Engel of Sidewalk Talk. Today I'm here with AIRE Atlantica.
Woo! Happy to be here.
So were you born in Long Island or?
Born on Long Island,
okay.
Yeah. Born and raised. Always grew up like going into New York City for shows and like the whole thing. But yeah, Long Island is where I was raised. About 40 minutes out of the city.
Are your parents from there as well?
Yeah.
Were they born in Long Island?
No, my dad is from Brooklyn. And my mom is from Oceanside, so Long Island. Oh,
so you have like all your extended family lives in that area.
Yeah, which is why it's tough to commit to moving to LA or whatever, but because most of my family's at home, friends are back home on Long Island and New York, and you know, so I get kind of homesick sometimes being out here, but I love LA, you know.
What'd your parents do?
My dad is a retired police officer, NYPD. And my mom works for the DA, so I'm like kind of like in a law enforcement family, but my dad has his roots in music. Like he taught me how to play drums at 3 years old. So
was he in bands himself, your dad?
Yeah. He played in a couple bands growing up, and then you know, just doing like bar gigs and stuff to like keep the music energy going. But yeah, he's kind of passed it on to me, I guess, is the way he likes to say it.
Did it click to you really quickly with all the instruments?
Yeah. Well, drums was always like my first instrument. So again, I've been doing that since I was like 3. And then really when I started production, I got more into piano and started teaching myself guitar like 6 months ago. So I'm just trying to learn everything at this point.
Yeah.
But through production, you kind of learn how to do everything in a way.
Were you in bands yourself?
Yeah, that was like kind of where I came from, like a more rock background. And so basically from, you know, middle school until probably my first year of college, so pretty much when I started producing, so until about 8 years ago, I was always in bands. And then unfortunately the band I was in broke up, so I was like, I need to figure out how to do everything myself, you know, and like learn how to like make beats, and like I was replicating hip-hop beats and trying to do all that, and then yeah, and it kind of just turned into this. So.
What kind of music was played in the house when you were growing up?
My dad was a classic rock guy. My mom didn't really like, you know, play too much music, but she loved everything. But my dad really gave me a love for classic rock, like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles, and that's kind of how I, you know, I would like sit on his lap and play drums and do all that. So there's videos of me like, you know, doing that since I was really young. But,
and that's what you also listen to in your free time, those bands? Yeah,
I would say. I kind of like went through a phase where I wasn't listening to a lot of classic rock.
How would you describe yourself back then growing up? Like your personality?
I would say I was pretty quiet early on, and then I think when I got to high school I kind of learned to like break out of my shell and be, you know, a little more outgoing and stuff. Maybe that came with music too. Like I realized I loved like being on stage and performing in front of people, so yeah, that's kind of where it started, I guess.
Did you like school?
No, not really. Especially college, because that's when I started this project, so like... Oh,
so your parents didn't like push you academically?
No. I mean, they did, of course, like get good grades, the whole thing, for sure, but I just didn't like school, like, you know, like it wasn't really my thing, but I, you know, got a degree, I got through it, but like I give people a lot of credit who like work in education and who have to like go back to school and like do all that.
Oh yeah.
Because I could never do that. But, so a lot of credit to all you teachers out there, we love you, but I can't do that, so... Yeah.
So what was the band that you were in called? Like how big did it get?
I would say we had a nice like local fan base on Long Island. Long Island is where like bands like Taking Back Sunday and Brand New, I don't know if you listen to any of them, but that's where that scene like started. So, you know, the band scene back in, you know, 2005 to 2011 was really strong, and probably even before 2005 obviously, but So yeah, we had a good local following, and the band was called City of Trees. I'm still friends with everybody in the band. I still work with them musically.
That's
like
cool.
they're great guys, and I'm actually living with one of them here out in California while I'm here. So like yeah, like we're all super tight. And yeah, it was a fun time, and that's kind of where I got my roots and did all that. So.
Well, did you know that you were gonna have a career in music, like for sure?
Yeah, I was one of those people who was like, this is what it is. Like there's really like, I'm sure my mom's gonna watch this and be like, yeah, he's so right. Like that is what he was saying, because that's like, I like went to college for music industry, so like I needed to be in the industry in some capacity. But the goal was always to be like some sort of songwriter. I guess early on it was to be like a studio drummer or like a touring drummer, of course, or whatever. But yeah, over time it just turned into music production, and yeah.
What did your parents think of initially that you wanted to devote your career into music? Were they skeptical?
No, I think they were always supportive, because again, my dad was a drummer, and I think if he had the choice, he probably would have been like, a musician. So they kind of like knew how it was. But I have a lot of like law enforcement in my family, and I have a lot of like, but it's funny because me, my brother, and my sister are kind of are chasing like untraditional careers. Like I'm a musician, my sister opened a theater business, theater school, but she was always into Broadway and singing and stuff, and then my brother is going to be, he's in school right now to be a director in film and stuff, so all of us are kind of doing our thing, and my parents are super supportive. And, so I love them for that. But
and you knew like one way or another that you were able to live off music? Yeah,
that was always the goal, and I worked in music up until last year. I had a day job in music, and it was a concert ticketing company. So basically what we did was we set up all the VIP tickets for artists, and so that gave me a lot of experience with like touring, and I got to travel with bands and acts, and I was actually on tour with Ariana Grande for like 2 months. Yeah, and like people who know me like are always like, oh, you were on tour with Ariana Grande, like that's so sick, like it must have been awesome like opening for her and playing. And I was like, no, like I wasn't there for AIRE ATLANTICA, I was there for my like job, and but now I'm full-time music, so it was cool to like learn how everything worked behind the scenes for a while.
What do you think, why did you decide to study music industry compared to like, I don't know, regular? Yeah,
well, I guess because like, well, my minor was in audio production, so I was always working on music like in and out of class, but I don't know, I think because industry was pretty broad, and like I knew that if it wasn't going to be performance, I wanted to be in the industry, and like the music industry is like a weird industry, but there's a lot of different interesting jobs in it. So I kind of went to school for that, and like you learn what you learn in school, like but most of the experience comes from actually doing it. So most of my industry knowledge came from just like work and doing stuff for AIRE ATLANTICA and learning as I go, because everything we did early on was like not so good, but that's how it is.
Looking back, would you go to school and study that again? Like people watching, would you recommend them to study?
I would say if you're somebody who has a passion for music and you're trying to figure out how to get into the industry, I'd say going to school for music industry is a good idea. But know that it takes like a lot of personal hustle and drive to get in. Like you can obviously get a job at like a desk at a label, like if your grades are good and you have like the brain for music, but if you want to go above and beyond, you gotta like push yourself. And obviously for the artists out there, it's all about hustling late hours after class, after work, and just grinding it out, because that's what it takes.
What was the school?
SUNY Oneonta.
Oh, okay.
It was like 4 or 5 hours north of New York City. State school in New York. Like I still have a ton of friends from there, and had a great time, but class was okay, but the partying was better, so.
So what kind of, what did they teach you? What classes did you take?
I took mostly, let me think, well, you have to do like the standard like general education classes, but like the music industry classes were, it was like learning about music, and then there was one that was about like music stores and like how to open a music store, and like the teacher, like he was like an old school teacher, and he was like, the only way to make money, I remember him saying this, and I'm sure other people do who have taken this class, and it was like, the only way to make money in music is to open a music store, like a retail store. Like so we had to like map out blueprints of like music stores.
No
it was, like,
way.
That's when I realized, I was like, I can't believe I'm like doing this right now. Like I need to figure out another way.
But they teach you everything, like A&Rs, like how record labels work?
Honestly, no, but I hope they do now.
What did they teach you then?
I know, I'm saying, like you go to school for music industry and you figure you would know. But no, there was like a legal music industry like law class.
Oh, that's helpful.
Which is actually pretty cool. Like you had to like draw up like contracts and stuff, which is interesting.
That's useful.
then I think the most interesting class was one where you had to make like, I don't remember the name of it, but I remember us making like one sheets for like releases and stuff. Like you would tell, and I obviously did it for AIRE Atlantica because that's when I kind of started my project. So I would just mock stuff up. It would be like forming a release plan for an artist's release. So for people that didn't have their own music project, it was pretty cool for them to get involved and like make stuff like that. So yeah, it all kind of translated actually, but I think when I was there, which it sounds like I'm like ancient, I only graduated a couple of years ago, but like I hope they like, you know, are renewing it now and adding some, like modern stuff like Spotify and like Apple Music like into the curriculum, because that's so important nowadays, and you know, people who are coming through college should know how that works, you know, so hopefully they're changing it up a little bit. It was a great experience overall. I feel like I just talked really bad about it, like college was awesome, you know.
So right after you graduated, you got that job?
Yeah, lucky. A friend of mine got me, and I guess it wasn't really an internship, I was just doing like labor work basically, like in the ticketing company, you know, you pack VIP bags for fans who like pay a lot of extra money to meet them and stuff like that. So I was packing like bags, like shipping bags with tote bags in it and like stickers, and then shipping it out to people. So it was just in the office to make some money. And then I kind of stuck around, and my boss liked what I was doing and got to know me a little bit, and then put me on the road with an R&B artist named Somo. So I got to kind of go on the road for a bit and learn that, and then I was in the office, and all while I'm doing this, I'm working on my own music and like trying to get that going, of course, but that was a good way to make money and learn the industry a bit. Yeah.
So what kind of stuff did you do with Ariana, like behind the scenes?
Same thing. So I would basically show up at the venue on the tour bus. Like there was like 30 tour buses on that tour. So the one I was on was like the merch people and stuff like that. So we would show up, kind of map out the whole meet and greet, and we'd have like 500 fans come in to meet Ariana that day. So it was me and, for that tour, it was me and 2 other people, and you know, map out the venue, meet with everybody from the venue, and get all their tickets ready, give them the tickets, pack all their bags of merch, and then lead them into the meet and greet to meet Ariana. So it was a very interesting process, but like crazy, you know, like crazy fans, crazy mom, a lot of crazy moms. Like moms. It was wild. Like I don't know, but good experience all around though. Yeah.
So what age did you actually start producing?
It was my freshman year of college, so 2010. So I was, whatever that would be, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Probably 18 was when I first started, yeah.
Did you have a moniker before?
No, this is it. I've been running with this one since I started, yeah.
How did you come up with it?
I guess the story that I've kind of formed is, and this is the story, but I'm always like, I wonder if there's like another thing that I could think of that would be a little cooler, but my grandpa's building, I should say, in Florida, that I used to go to growing up with my family, was called the Atlantica in Daytona Beach. Name. So from there I was like, oh, and then coming from a band, I was like, all right, like and this is what mattered back in these days, back in like 2010, it was like, how do I get my name to show up in the top of people's iTunes? So I was like, it needs to start with an A. I was like, it has to start with an A no matter what.
That's so smart, even for festival life.
Yeah, for festival billing, there's like, so I guess
12th Planet, he's always at the top.
Yeah, 12th Planet, and who else would be, I don't know, I'm sure, I mean, there's a bunch obviously. Yeah. But like, so that was my thing. I was like, all right, it needs to be an A, maybe B or a C, but definitely an A. And then the AIRE was just to kind of make things a little more interesting, and the E at the end make things even more interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Love your name so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I made it also. I was like, I don't want anything that anybody else could ever have. Like, if there's another AIRE Atlantica artist out there, they're blatantly copying it.
Yeah, it's so good for SEO.
Yeah, there's no one who could have this name. So, yeah, I guess that's the story.
Yeah. And how did you push your music out initially? How did people find you?
I think we're doing a lot of, so me and my old manager Pete, who's still a great friend of mine, we would be hustling in college, and like, you know, I think I started making mixes, because that's when DJ mixes were like still like a way to break, and like I was doing bootlegs, like making like mashups and stuff and doing all that, all while learning production. I was like remixing like Rihanna songs just by like taking the MP3 and like, you know, changing it up and whatever, which is like kind of the dirty way to do a remix. And so we would take those and put them on websites like, I'm trying to think of like the old website that I don't even think is around anymore. Maybe it was like Living Electro, or there was like a couple old EDM websites. So we would put music up there and kind of just keep pushing it. And then I made an EP in like 2011, which was probably, I think it was terrible. Like, it was definitely terrible. Like, So we kind of just, I didn't really wait for anything. I just like did it as I had it. So like, I was like, yeah, let's make mashups, put them out. Yeah, let's make an EP. It's probably terrible, put it out. But like, you know, it's getting the experience and learning from like how you're doing things and whatever.
And also HypeM helped, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually didn't see much success on HypeM until the past couple years, maybe like 2 years. I think the first time I did well on HypeM was a remix I did for Billie Eilish. It hit #1, which was sweet. And I think the remix I did for Ash did pretty well on there too. A couple of them have done pretty well, but remixes I feel like do very well on HypeM, which is cool.
That's actually so true.
So yeah, that's helped too. There's a bunch of good ways to make it, get your name out there. You know, SoundCloud too, of course, but that's kind of changed over the past couple of years, but SoundCloud is good. So yeah, that was early on what we did.
How do you meet your team now?
So my team right now is Jorge and Brian. Brian's actually my brother, real life brother.
Oh, nice.
So me and my old manager P, again, we're still friends, but like, you know, I got a job, I went on a little hiatus with music, so we basically ended up, you know, just parting ways, and then I started working by myself and forming my sound, and then my brother was like trying to help, and then he had his friend named Jorge, and now we're all, you know, good team.
Yeah.
So they all, you know, luckily I think I taught them a little bit, and now they like really help me do everything like that I don't want to do, luckily, so shouts to them.
That's so cool. What is it like working with your brother?
It's actually really easy. Like, people ask me that, and we get along really well. He's similar in age to me. You know, he's passionate about it, but we've never had any disagreements about really anything related to business, and like, it's good that I could trust him with, you know, stuff.
So true.
And obviously paying your close friends, even and family, is like a great feeling, and so it's been good, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like a super good like visual brain like I do, so he helps me bounce ideas for like videos and stuff, and again, he's going to school for directing, and so yeah, it's good to work with. Yeah. And then he introduced me to Jorge, who's another, you know, super important part of my team, so he's like the connections guy, Jorge, so he like knows everyone. I'm sure most people who are watching this probably know Jorge or have hung out with him or whatever, because he's like super good at that, and I'm not that great at that stuff. Like, I'm sure I don't know how many artists are like good at like going out there and networking, but it's really like a blessing to have a manager who is good at that. So it helps me for sure. Yeah.
So what was the turning point that you decided, oh my god, this cat looks so creepy?
Wait, this is literally like, what's that show, The Teenage Witch?
Guys, it was just like, I was walking out, black cat with really green eyes just staring.
He's grilling. Oh, he's still here. Tell him to come with us. Him, her.
Ran away.
Wow. It's October. It's spooky month.
True. Oh yeah, so what was the turning point that you realized you wanted to quit your job?
So about a year ago, well, I've always wanted to for sure, but the moment I was able to was when I got approached to do production for the Kardashians TV show, which is a very interesting experience and really fun. But
you know how they found you?
A remix I did for K-Flay, I think, was circulating through Spotify playlists, and the A&R, I guess you call her, at the company, shout out to Kate at Buna Murray, she heard my stuff and brought me in, and I guess Kanye was kind of looking for the Kardashians to like revamp the music. So this is what I was told, at least. So like his team wants to like change everything, and like a Kanye spur of the moment, he's like, I'm taking this over, like whatever, like, you know, find me producers to handle all this, and I'm gonna take over the whole thing. So I guess the team found a bunch of producers, and I was one of them, submitted my music and made a couple like samples for them, and they ended up liking it, and from there, you know, it's been a fun gig, and it's been cool.
So you're sending them just beats, right? Or like what kind of music are you sending?
Yeah, like instrumental stuff that they use for transitions, and I've done it for a couple seasons now, and it's been like it gets easier as I go, because I'm kind of learning what they want and stuff. But so I did that I've been doing it for like maybe 2 years now. So once I did that, I was like, all right, like now I'm now I'm a professional musician by term, like I'm making a little bit of money, so now I can just like go at it full time, and since then that's been the grind.
And have you watched back the Kardashians and found your music on it?
Yeah, but so basically, like, I think the Kardashians are great, like in their, like, you know, everyone knows what they are and who they are and whatever, but it's just like more surreal to be I'm like, the first season at least I did, I was making them in like my small New York City apartment, like no windows, like a little cramped box, like stupid little studio, like, and then that Sunday I would turn on the TV and there was that beat that I just made.
No
or whatever.
way!
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
So it was definitely a cool feeling. And
how did your music get on the MTV shows?
It was pitched to, and I think Brian at Brass Tracks got that one for us. I haven't met Brian, but he, from what I'm told, runs like a little boutique music pitching service. So I guess he sent them over my song "Make You Mine," and a couple others have been on MTV, which is also cool. Like the first time that happened, it was like a Friday night. I think it was like the season premiere of Are You the One, which is I'd never seen it before. So we were told it was gonna be on that night. So like me and all my friends are chilling, like drinking a bit, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, we gotta turn on the show. Like I think my song's gonna be on it. And then like all of a sudden, like I think people were like making out in the shower or something. It's like a dating show, so like they were like going at it, and all of a sudden, AIRE ATLANTICA, Make You Mine, like it says on the bottom, you know, on the TV, and I was like, that's like a pretty surreal moment because growing up as a kid, like you're like, yo, MTV, like that's when you know you made it, like, and TV's different now, of course, but like I was like, man, this is pretty interesting and pretty cool.
That's so cool.
And it said my name at the bottom and everything, and everyone was like, oh shit. It was a good moment. It was cool. I don't even know how many. Actually, a couple of people texted me and they were like, I thought no one watched the show, and a couple of people texted me and were like, oh my god, I saw you, I heard your music on Are You the One? I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. So yeah, shouts to Brian from Brass Tracks for making that one happen.
What was the music video inspiration for that?
So I knew I wanted something like that was choreographed, and it was a pretty like dance-centered video we did. And one of my best friends, Sam, is a dancer, you know, at heart, and has been dancing his whole life. So I kind of called on him to help me find some people and really make this thing happen. So he led the choreography on it, and then you know, they really killed it, and it was a fun process. And you know, so I worked on that with a couple friends, and my friend Dave directed it from Gen Motion, and Kim helped out. So it was like a really good crew we had, you know, handling that one. So it was fun.
And you've always been interested in fashion, right?
Yeah. I would say more recently, like I guess like the industry side of it more recently, but like I always knew that like, you know, dressing is like a pretty significant part of who you are, I guess. So like making, you know, your statements via how you look and stuff. Like I always felt like I needed to look presentable and like cared about what I was wearing, and like maybe a little too much, like but it's weird. My mom always is like, when you were growing up, like I would put like a striped shirt out for you to wear to like elementary school, and I would never wear stripes, and like now I like always wear stripes, and like I don't know, it's just like so weird how obviously your taste changes. But yeah, I mean, I think fashion is super cool, and like I wish I had more money to like afford like really expensive shit, but like for now, you know, keep saving, you know. But
what do you have coming up for fashion?
I'll probably make some sort of like merch line or something that, I don't know if I would want to do more like, you know, obviously I want to do like AIRE ATLANTICA merch, but I want to be able to make like a brand or like a lifestyle brand. And me and my friend Paul, who's an awesome designer and, you know, artist himself, we're probably going to start something soon. Not started yet, so I can't tell you that much about it because we don't even have any ideas, but like, we'll have ideas, but like nothing on paper yet. But I'd love to like start a lifestyle brand that incorporates fashion and events and stuff and all that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So, you know, just going further than music and taking the art like further, you know. So.
What were the inspirations behind your EP?
Probably my time out here in California was like the biggest inspiration, and like the artists that I was working with on it as well. So, you know, my 6 months out here, I was just writing non-stop and doing a bunch of sessions. It was like really my first time being here for an extended period of time. So really it was just like the city, I'd say, like being around certain types of people and writers, and then kind of forming the sound that I wanted to form and really tightening up my production and writing, and that's kind of like was the biggest inspiration. You know, I'm not always good with coming up with like these vague like answers of what was like the inspiration. Like, well, it was like this, you know, animal I saw on like 3rd Street. That was the inspiration. But like, it was really like I find inspiration from people and other people's music and you know, vibes. Like this sunset is good inspiration for me. Like, I love the weather here and the skies and stuff. Like, and New York too has its own inspiration in it as well. So. But the EP, all the songs were made in California, so that's kind of where I go to for first inspiration. Yeah.
How would you say your music has changed since the early songs you made?
Oh man, pretty heavily. My early stuff was always very like EDM banger-ish. Like I was putting out releases on like Steve Aoki's label, Dim Mak, and Afrojack put out a single of mine. So I kind of started in 2010 through 2014 doing like more dance music and EDM, and then from there grew into more indie electronic, which is what it is now, and with always had like hip hop influence in it, like, and my focus is always in the drums because that's what I started playing first. But it's definitely changed a lot since those days, man. It's all out there, so
yeah.
If people want to search my old music from like 2011 and laugh a little bit, go for it. But
how do you say you've grown as a person compared to when you were younger?
That's a good question. I feel like I've definitely matured and been able to kind of, acquire dreams the way that I want to. Like I kind of see the end goal and like know what it takes to get there, and that's also something that I've learned through like work and music, but I've translated into like my personal life and always trying to stay positive and stuff. But like I always had that in me, but now I'm able to like apply it to real life, especially as like a full-time musician. It requires a lot of like attention to the craft and stuff. So yeah, but I'd probably say I'm a very similar person to who I always was, but aside from learning about music and making it a career, which is like was always my dream. So that's kind of I guess that's who I am now.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far? Could be in your personal life.
Biggest challenges, probably, again, it goes back to like balancing the craft and like deciding what you want to do and really locking it in and going for it. I'd say that was probably one of my biggest challenges, and obviously like as an artist, it's always like you're making sure financially like you're good. You never want to be like struggling, and I know it's like another piece of advice I give to upcoming artists is like don't let like the advice of like, no, if you want to make it in music, like you need to sacrifice and you need to like be starving on the street. Like no, if you want to make it in music, like go get a side job and work on your shit like from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. and then go to work the next day and really like grind it out, but don't be like starving on the street. Like it's always good to be comfortable and like stuff like that. So I'd say the challenge for me was always making sure that like I made the right decisions, and luckily support from my family and friends like helped me do that, and getting to the point now where it's like being a full-time musician was like always the #1 goal of mine, and making that happen was probably like one of my biggest achievements, I would say. So.
What does love mean to you?
Love is a very deep word, I would say, but love, I like to refer to love as like passion for something, whether it's a person or like music or art or whatever you may be into. If it's like, if you can feel that feeling for something without any effort, that's like love, I feel. And like more so for like somebody's craft or like what everyone's passion is. But I would say the closest word that I can relate it to would be passion, and like but love is a very interesting thing. Everyone feels it differently, and I feel like in terms of like people from person to person, love is like, I think the biggest thing is trust, having trust in someone, and like being able to always have someone's back no matter what, and like building that connection. That's like, I'd say the definition of love from like person to person. But yeah.
Last question, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for always giving my all and being real, like especially through my music, and like obviously my style has changed a couple of times, but like I'm always doing what I want to be doing at the moment, and like it's pretty reflective on how I'm feeling at the time. So and I want to be known for being a good person, for sure. Just like always being somebody that people know I'm always supportive. I'm always down to like share knowledge with my friends, especially in music, like people who are just starting out. I love helping people out and doing all that. So that's how my parents raised me, to always be a good person. So I try.
I love that. This is so fun. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Bye.